late 70s.
Very good success.
In the drive-in market.
Yeah, made like $1 million. Apparently documentaries at that time would make like $70K.
Yeah.
And this made $1 million.
Well, these schlockamentaries that were made for the drive-ins actually did pretty good. Like, do you remember a film when I did the research on the top 20 independently released features of the 70s? One of the ones in the towards the end of the top 20 was that documentary. Do you remember it? Because I remember all the TV spots for it. Dirt.
No, is that a dirt bike movie?
It was about dirt biking and those big monster trucks. That go through the mud and everything with their big wheels.
It's starting to come back to me.
And then doom buggies, all right, and go-karts that like race through the mud and the dirt and everything. So it was a whole documentary of stuff like this, and this fits into that. Initially, we saw the American Nitro trailer on one of the other Paragon films that we watched, and it was one of the 6 trailers on the front of it. The trailer looked fucking awesome.
Yeah.
And I said, hey, look, we didn't have American Nitro in either the Eddie Brandt's collection or the Video Archives collection. And they go, I want that to be our first documentary.
Yeah.
You know, and so Gala got on it and actually found the Paragon video. You know, and
this was one we actually did not have.
We did not have, and but
we knew we had to have it and to bring it into the collection.
We knew we had to get it and bring it into the collection. We wanted it to be our first documentary that we did, and we got it, and we watched it. And this was a lot of fun. Admittedly, it had hot competition between Sonny and Jed and Mr. Scarface, which I think was for me and Roger, at least, our killer double feature that we sat down and watched together. But American Nitro was a lot of fun.
It's a lot of fun. And I'm not even into funny cars.
Well, yeah.
Necessarily.
It reminded me as I was watching it.
As a kid, I would have never been into this. As an adult, I was like, wow, this is fascinating.
I didn't quite know exactly what funny car was 100% until the movie had to describe it. I mean, I knew what those big dragsters were.
Yeah.
And I knew they were called funny cars, but I didn't quite get exactly what the deal was. But then the movie goes out of its way to explain it.
Well, what's interesting about this documentary, which was kind of unusual for, other documentaries at the time, and that's why Bill Kimberlin was, I think, kind of like onto something. The director is like, he was making what he called asphalt anthropology. And so he's not making necessarily a funny car movie just to glorify funny cars. He's actually turning his lens to it with honesty.
Yeah.
He's showing like the kind of shitty side also. Like he's interviewing people who are like complaining about this and that. And like, it's not all.
No, the Mongoose guy's a real asshole.
Yeah. And he's going ahead and showing like that. And also the kind of.
It makes it not a puff piece.
It's not a puff piece.
It's not a puff piece for the funny car industry. It's not an incisive takedown either. All right. But it just shows you the 4 corners.
Read the box. Like, what does the box say?
Well, again, it's a fucking Paragon box. Their boxes that look great, but their descriptions are terrible. All right. Well, this one actually might be a little better than most, actually, because it doesn't have a story to ruin. Greatest funny car movie ever made.
That may be true.
I think that is true. C, 7 of the worst crashes and fires in drag racing history. C, recently legalized side-by-side jet car races. C, stunt vehicles pair off for 200-mile wheel start runs.
Yeah, that was impressive.
That was pretty cool. C, a motorcycle psycho attempt to jump end-to-end semi-trucks.
That guy was awesome.
This fast-paced, never-lets-up action film takes a terrifically funny look at the grins and gashes, the cars and the crashes, the smiles and the smashes that make drag racing America's most exciting and humorous spectator sport. Okay, well, that's so drastically the best Paragon back-of-a-box rating ever.
C!
No, I know, but they actually wrote it as opposed to sketching it out.
I'll bet you everything that's in my pocket right now that Bill Kimberlin wrote that himself.
I think you're probably right. It's too good for Paragon.
Yeah, it's too good for Paragon. And and as this was basically a movie made by a guy and his brother. I mean, they went out and they bought an Eclair camera.
I would not doubt if that's not taken directly from the press kit. The thing about the film that ended up being the most fascinating for me because the trailer is just wall-to-wall crashes.
Yeah.
Wall-to-wall crashes.
Which is what you want to see when you're a kid.
Yeah, exactly. Wall-to-wall crashes, wall-to-wall cars just bursting into flames.
Yeah.
Which apparently is like the danger of funny cars.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, you're sitting on top of an explosive
Yeah,
charge,
it's like
basically.
You're basically driving a rocket that will either project itself to the moon or blow up like a bomb. And you're never quite sure exactly. And at some point, it will blow up like a bomb. And you just don't know when.
And there's no way in and out of the car without having three guys literally lift the body off the car so that you can climb out of the contraption that you're in. Like, if it's on fire, you just kind of have to hope that they're going to pull you out.
Well, one of the things that's interesting in the film, well, they show that and they illustrate it. But, one of the stars of funny car racing was Shirley Cha-Cha Madani. And even though she's not listed in the credits, she's actually in the movie. She doesn't talk to the camera in the film, but they talk about her, and you see footage of her, in between races or something.
Heart Like a Wheel, right?
Yeah, and she's just, the Bonnie Bedelia played her in the
Jonathan Kaplan
movie Heart Like a Wheel. And the most intense part of Heart Like a Wheel is there is the part where her car blows up, and she's completely engulfed in flame.
Yeah,
and the fire suit stops her from getting killed. But she's burnt to a crisp at the same time, even though it stops her from getting killed. And it has that intense moment where Anthony Edwards plays her son in it. And it's like she has all these other men in her life, but the only man that stays with her is her son at the end. And he comes running out to her, and it has that famous close-up where she's got the mask on. She's got the pullover hood of the fire suit on her. And you see everything is burnt around her except her wide blue eyes. Sarah, and Bonnie Bedelia is kind of famous for her eyes.
Yeah,
and
she has beautiful eyes.
And then just have them staring out of this burnt hamburger. All right, it's such an affecting shot. You're
it's intense.
You're truly terrified for her, and she truly looks scared out of her wits.
Heart Like a Wheel is a wonderful movie. Everybody should see.
Yeah, it's a terrific film. I was familiar with some of the racers, not because I was super familiar by following their careers, but from growing up in Los Angeles in the 70s, there was a lot of racetracks around here.
The Saga Speedway.
Yeah, and they always advertised on radio all the time. So you have Ascot and Gardena.
Ascot.
Yeah, Ascot and Gardena. Where the 405 and the San Diego Freeway meet. Ascot and Gardena. Be there! But if it's not Ascot and Gardena, it's Lion Speedway. If it's not Lion Speedway, it's Irwindale Raceway.
Yeah.
And so, it's that week coming up. They're advertising for their weekend. So they're always throwing out names of who is going to be there. So some of these names I'm just familiar with from hearing them on these Irwindale Raceway commercials. Don the Snake Perdue, John Shrewsbury, Shirley Cha-Cha Maldani, Tommy Ivo. Those are names that have been running through my head since I was a kid because they've always been,
on radio.
Yeah, Big Daddy.
Big Daddy Ross. Signing posters.
William Shatner from Star Trek.
Be there.
And Christmas and Santa Claus. But
they would bring snow and stuff.
Yeah, so it seems like it's going to be wall-to-wall crashes because that's the most exciting footage in the trailer. Okay, now what happens in the movie is the crashes all happen in the middle of the movie. In a crash montage where it's obviously not done for the movie, that they bought the footage from other crashes. What's actually very interesting about the movie, it does harken back to a time of independent cinema where if there was some sort of a hook, you could piece together a movie about almost anything. If there was some sort of personal interest or exciting aspect of the storyline. And what I mean by that is this. I'm forgetting the name of the raceway that did you remember?
Fremont Raceway.
Do you remember where that was at?
Fremont is near San Francisco. It's just across the bay from San Francisco.
So it's still California, too.
Yeah.
It's just one of the many California places.
Bill Kimberlin is a San Francisco guy.
Okay.
He was sort of a commercial, industrial
filmmaker.
Filmmaker up there.
Well, here's the thing. This is obvious. This entire film, except for the stock footage, which is maybe 20% of it, was all shot over a weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah. They obviously...
on an Eclair 16mm camera.
Yeah, because it's like, these guys, it's not like these guys just showed up at Fremont every week. No, they were at Fremont for this weekend. Yeah. And then they're at Irwindale Raceway for another weekend. Or they're in Bristol for the next week. It's like the rodeo, all right? It's a circuit and they travel. So they were obviously there for that one weekend. And so they obviously just shot all day Saturday and Sunday. And then got together for a few different interviews with only the Mongoose guy, it looks like.
It feels like it, yeah.
Afterwards. But he put together a movie by a weekend of shooting.
Yeah.
And for that, he fucking kicked ass. The use of the stock footage is really terrific. I learned stuff about funny cars that I didn't know before, but the most important thing that I learned that almost becomes the theme of the movie for the first half, but it infects the entire film because you kind of now know what you're looking at when you look at these guys. This is not the same thing as being a stock car, as being a NASCAR driving. It's definitely not the same thing as being a Formula One driver.
It's not even the same thing as drag racing.
It's not even the same thing as being a motocross driver.
Yeah.
All right, where those guys, it's a sport you can make a living on.
Yeah.
It's a sport you can actually, and if you win and you do well, you can make a good living on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, funny cars were like in between.
This shows that unless you're Don Perdoom, you're not going to make a living doing funny car. All right. I mean, not only that, it just shows that, like for instance, okay, we're recording this in California. We're in the Hollywood Hills right now. If you fall over to the Hollywood Hills on the valley side and you go to Riverside Drive on Friday at the Bob's Big Boy, okay, they have a antique custom car show that happens every Friday night. That they all the gearheads around here, all the car clubs, they take their coolest old 50s car. They go to Bob's Big Boy and they park in the curb service, and it's just a cool car show that happens every Friday night here in Los Angeles, and it's really terrific. And these guys are all just like car enthusiasts that just love their car, and their family have done without to some degree because they've invested everything in this hobby that they have. These drag racers are
another level. Yeah,
are the 10 steps up, more professional version of them. But they're still coming from the same place. Not only can they not make a living, unless you're Don Perdoom, you're not going to make a living off of this. You're going to pay for it. You need to, as they even said, you need to have at least 100,000.
That's to enter, and then you need another 100K per year.
Yeah, exactly. But you really need about 200,000 to be competitive.
You got to have like 3 engines,
and that's every year.
These are custom engines.
The individual parts are so expensive. You have to decide: are you going to race full out? If you race full out, okay, you can do that, and that's going to be you racing at the highest of your field. But you're going to wear out your parts, so you better have the money to replace the parts. Now, if you can't replace the parts, then you can't race full out. You need to save your parts, or else you're going to go bankrupt.
Yeah.
This is their life. This is their life. This is their passion. This is their love. They're giving everything they have to it, and some things they don't have to it. And the whole family has to be down with it, or you don't have a family.
Yeah.
The wife has to sign off on this. The kids have to sign off on this because this is what they're doing. This is their life. This is their life. This is obviously the most important thing in their dad's life.
He describes how the kind of wear and tear that the parts go under, and that the engine gets so hot that thin pieces of metal like the exhaust pipe become transparent, translucent, rather. Where you can actually, they're so hot, they're so white hot that you can see through them. Like a piston can blow through. He talked about one guy who the engine blew up and a bolt came off of it and shot into the cabin and shot a guy. Like,
I think
like
a gun, bam.
Bam. It's just like suddenly you've got a bolt going through your body. And then you're doused in flames. And these are guys who are, for very little, they're, like you said, they're sacrificing, and their families are probably sacrificing for very little gain. And their lives are absolutely at risk
for just love, but it's like it's that combustible thing. This rocket will either launch in the sky or it will blow up. And at some point it will blow up. At some point when you're racing, that gas is going to hit that exhaust pipe and you're going to be doused in flames, or it's just going to fucking blow up. That's going to happen eventually. One day or another, it will happen.
Yeah, it's a numbers game.
It's a numbers game, exactly.
It's a numbers game. Franklin Browner wrote a little something about this. One can imagine George Lucas seeing the asphalt anthropology doc American Nitro, and not with any small amount of jealousy, immediately hiring its director, Bill Kimberlin, to keep him occupied at ILM, editing VFX for his entire career as an act of protectionist revenge. Sure, those Lucasfilm VFX look tight, and Kimberlin is the best VFX editor out there. But what we as an American audience may have lost was the career of a director who was trespassing and exploring Michael Moore's territory long before Michael had planted his flag. That's what Franklin Browner thinks. What happened was in 1982, Bill Kimberlin, who was an industrial filmmaker in San Francisco after making this documentary and actually having great success with it, got hired as the VFX editor on Return of the Jedi and never looked back. I mean, he, after that, started doing every big ILM production from there on out.
And I find it entirely believable that with George Lucas's love for this type of car and this type of which is half the reason he made American Graffiti.
Yeah, and the movie is the title is in fact a reference to American Graffiti.
Yeah, and it's like I have no doubt he saw it and he probably fucking loved it.
Oh, he for sure. That's why he hired him. That's why he gave him the leg up and the career.
Why he hired Dan O'Bannon? All right, because of his work in Dark Star.
Yeah, I mean, he was inspired by Russ Meyer to make this movie, by Warren Miller, by Russ Meyer, by guys who would make things.
Bruce Brown.
Own them. We were talking about it the other night. The kind of guys who would make, distribute.
The one-man shows.
The one-man shows.
The Ken Shapiro's, the Russ Meyers, the Tom Laughlins.
Yeah. He was inspired by that. And so he went out, he and his brother bought a 16 millimeter Eclair and a Nagra. And like you said, went out on a weekend and shot this documentary.
I mean, in the 60s, you could rent a soundstage for 4 days.
Yeah.
And then if you want to do a British invasion jukebox musical, then you get like 7 British invasion acts. You had to get the Animals, you had to get a few of those in there, and then for 4 days you film 2 songs each.
Yeah,
2 songs each, and then either buy stock footage of either the Beatles at Shea Stadium or the Dave Clark 5 doing something, and now you've got a jukebox musical. You made it in 4 fucking days.
Yeah,
just the idea that you could put a movie together like this is just so romantic to me. I can't tell you. And you're describing it in a very romantic way, too, the way you're talking about the 2 brothers.
Yeah, and they're brothers, and it's like basically a 2-man act. I mean,
and the movie is edited really, really well.
In truth,
and Bill edited it.
It's probably like a 10-person act, but in reality, but it's really these 2 brothers that are doing it. And then they went out, and so the movie was like a dynamite hit, actually.
And by the way, I love Pam. The girl that lines up that steals the show. All right. It's so obvious that the Kimberlin brothers just like, oh my God, this girl Pam is just amazing. And like it's a job I didn't know existed. It's like there's when the cars are getting on the line.
Yeah.
First they have to do a little bit of a run so they can lay a little rubber.
Yeah,
on the track.
I never ever understood that, why they were always doing these false starts at the beginning. Like the wheels spin and all the smoke goes up, and I thought, oh, they're just showing off for the audience, and maybe that's what it began.
Well, they make a point. They go, well, the announcer, the guy as an announcer is almost acting like the narrator.
Great.
He's really
great.
good.
He's really good.
And he's in stereo, and and he's like, now you think he's just showing off for the audience, and if you're enjoying it, great, that's fine, but no. Yeah, I think it's a combination of one, they got to lay a little rubber on the track, but they got to get the wheels.
Yeah, it grips better. The hot wheel on the rubber on the asphalt.
Yeah,
it grips better and allows them to get a microsecond start faster.
Yeah, and but after they keep going back and forth, they need to be lined up again, and then they have this girl with huge breasts and short pants.
Yeah, like cutoffs.
Cutoffs. I mean, like she's a hot mama, and you see her,
and she behaves like one.
Yeah,
she's in charge.
Yeah, exactly. You drivers are coming in and you're leaving. This is my motherfucking track. Yeah. And I will tell you how to line it up. And when I point to the left, you fucking get your ass to the fucking left. That's what time it is. She is so bossy, all right, in her hand signals that, like, you just fall in love with her. Pam is just amazing. Oh, they only say her name twice. And the first time they say it, it's almost half-hearted, but her name's Pam, all right?
Well, it's like these lines.
And then they say later, they go, well, nobody's looking at the driver. Everyone's watching Pam.
It's almost like her job is to be the dominatrix of the track.
Yeah.
Because she's out there, like, kind of yelling at him. And
well, she's not yelling at all. Okay.
Not yelling. She's doing hand signals.
She's yelling with her hands.
Yeah. She's doing these,
and by the
gesticulating.
And by the way, she's not being the dominatrix to the driver. She's being the dominatrix to these gigantic machines.
Yes.
And she's making the machine, these huge machines, bend to her will. She's amazing.
Yeah, and
she wins my award for best supporting actress.
Well, that whole sequence where they show the women of funny car racing, just like in the audience, the girls on the track and everything. Oh, and I love that they just took their time to go ahead and deliver.
Well, he's got 90 minutes to fill. All right, he had a weekend to shoot it, so he's got to stretch out 90 minutes. But again,
and if you were a girl in Fremont on that day, you're in American Nitro.
You mean the big boob montage?
The big boob montage.
The big boob montage is one of the wildest things we've seen since we started watching these movies.
I'm not even sure
it's
a big boob montage. I think it's an every boob montage. Every boob in Fremont.
Well, I thought that initially until I realized a third into it that all the girls had big boobs.
In Fremont.
And all the girls that they show in the montage have big boobs. And then and in case there was ever any question about it, he starts zooming into the boobs in the last 15% of it. All right. There's an actual zoom into the boobs.
Yeah.
Right?
We actually were like, wait a minute, is he doing it? He did it.
Oh, he did it. He did it. He did. That's one of the most remarkable things.
He's shameless. He's shameless.
Okay. You can joke about that all you want. At the same time, every single woman from the stands that they showed had such personality.
Oh, they were all characters.
They were all characters. The fact that they would decide to go spend their day going to a funny car show, all right, and like be totally down with it. Their hairstyles, their clothes, the look on their face, the fucking beer they were drinking or the popsicle they were sucking. I mean, it's just character. I wanted to hear every one of those women's voices.
Yeah, this really was a great glimpse of America 1979.
Also added to the fact that this could have been done in Bristol, Tennessee. This could have been done in North Carolina. It's not. It's done by San Francisco. Yeah. So this is the California version of these people.
Yeah, and in fact, it's... I mean, Fremont's not that far from Modesto, even. And so the American Graffiti connection is still there. I mean,
that's right. Yeah,
this part of the world is a part of the world that loves this
right on
this kind of car adoration culture.
And then the last point I'm going to bring up is the emergence as the film goes on of Don the Snake Perdue being the superstar.
Yeah,
like literally the Richard Petty of this sport, the king.
Yeah,
the king. And he looks it. He's not classically handsome.
I would say he's the opposite of classically handsome.
But especially compared to the other drivers, and because of his cool suit and his cool style.
His rugged style.
And his rugged style and those cool colors that he has, you know, on his leathers, that almost red, white, and blue colors that he has on his leathers. And then just his mastery. He knows he's the man. I mean, they make the point. He has not lost a race in a year, if not even a year and a half.
Yeah. And when he's racing, it actually is kind of stunning because he is smoking people. He is like way ahead.
Yeah. So he looks like the handsomest fucking sexy stud in the fucking world in this movie, which is what you look like when you are the man.
Well,
you are the man.
He has a little bit of
undisputedly the man. He is undisputedly the man.
He has a little bit of a Steve McQueen feel.
He does. Steve McQueen wishes he was fucking Don Perdue.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure he was like in love with him.
I'm in love with him. Yeah. As much as I enjoyed it, after the first hour, it was getting a little tiring. I was like, okay, I think they've said everything they're going to say. So I'm thinking I'm going to have to tolerate the last 20 minutes, that it's just going to dribble away into just other races and everything. Well, I have to say I was wrong. There is a tiring aspect to the last half hour to 20 minutes, but they do break it up in a big way because that's when the motorcycle guy on the hang glider,
it's a triumphant moment,
is going to jump a series of
he's going to do a world record. He's
going to do a world record. We're going to jump a series of semis that no guy on a motorcycle could ever make.
Yeah, and everybody's like, this guy's going to get fucked up.
This guy,
let's watch this guy wipe out.
This guy is a fucking idiot.
Yeah. He looks like a dork with his crazy
He looks like a
contraption.
dork. He does not look like Evel Knievel.
They even talk about how his contraption, if he crashes, will kill him.
Oh, yeah.
Because of the way the cage is.
Not only that, it looks jerry-rigged to the max. It does not look... No Yamaha fucking thing designed this thing. He just, with a welding torch, he apparently just added a hang glider to his motorcycle, and it looks as jerry-rigged as if I did it.
Yeah, it's like an ornithopter before the Wright brothers or something. Like, will that fly?
Yeah. And then you watch the jump.
Yeah.
And it's fucking really cool. Not only that, Bill Kimbrell puts a camera behind it, and that shot of him flying through the air when you see passing the trucks underneath him, that shot was amazing.
When he kind of stands up to lean into it, so you can get a little bit more range, and
then you realize this guy's not crazy at all. Not only does he pass the trucks, he goes further.
Yeah, he goes way further.
He goes way further than the trucks, and then lands hard like a fucking stone on two wheels, and it's just fine.
Yeah, he knows how to handle that thing. I mean, it looks top heavy and impossible to keep it balanced.
It is top heavy and impossible, and you have to be an expert on how to run that exact motorcycle like that guy is.
Yeah.
And if that wasn't enough, we've seen at least 3 Don Perdue races in there. And in every single one of them, they build up the second guy so it's exciting.
Yeah.
And you just watch Don beat him. But then they do it again. And the best win he has is that last one.
Yeah.
I mean, he just smokes that guy as if he was standing fucking still.
Yeah.
It was as if that guy was parked.
Yeah, it really is. He's so far ahead. And it's only a six second.
It's 6 seconds.
The race is 6 seconds long.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And so it's like it happens like that. And yet he is way ahead. It's crazy how far ahead he is.
Yeah.
That's how much better he is.
It's how much the man he is. And the movie pretty much just ends on him leaving the track.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's it. Movie's over.
Yeah.
Movie's over. When Don Perdue leaves, movie's over.
And there's not another one. So I got it. Haha, sucks to suck, everyone, but it's mine.
Eat shit.
Yeah, basically.
Pound sand, everybody.
So for all my gearheads out there, please watch this movie. I love cars.
Yeah, this is a thrill.
I'm a car lover. I used to drive a 1996 Mazda Miata. I had the most fun in that car.
Gala's first car was like a little
stock
blue,
race car.
As blue as her shirt.
I love cars. I love watching cars get raced. I love funny cars. So for me, it was a delight to watch this. For me, in the best way possible, it doesn't really feel like a documentary. Like when I heard oh, we're going to be watching a documentary, I kind of imagined you have people explaining to you all this stuff.
It's a schlockumentary.
Explain to me, what is a schlockumentary?
What a schlockumentary is
it's asphalt anthropology. I'm going to cut both of you off. This is asphalt anthropology. Okay, now you can continue with your
pontification.
Yes, go for it.
It's not meant to be any more disrespectful than blaxploitation is meant to be necessarily disrespectful. It's just a play on words. All right. But the idea behind it is a documentary. They're going out and filming real stuff, but it's not made from the high-minded, serious perspective that most documentaries are made. It's made for the audience and the people that will go and see this movie. Bottom line is, a schlockumentary usually makes money, or not today, where documentaries, but forever. All right, documentaries died at the box office. Where schlockumentaries, all right, catering towards a certain crowd, whether it's a movie about Manson,
or like all the Sun films, for example,
the Sun films, the nature movies, all the Mondo Connie movies. Okay, those are all schlockumentaries.
Like Alaska Adventure, is that?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they have some exploitable element, all right, that a certain subculture will appeal to. And you're not going to show the man who skied down Mount Everest at a drive-in, but you're going to absolutely show American Nitro at a drive-in.
Yeah, and pack the drive-in.
I actually love this style of documentary. So I love schlockumentaries, I guess.
I think you do.
Because
I would bet that on when it comes to you, actually. Yeah.
Well, because I love how natural it felt. I'm watching it and I'm I'm actually learning stuff without it being spoon-fed to me.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I'm naturally feeling I'm in a time capsule. Mm-hmm. I'm on the raceway in American Nitro. Mm-hmm. And I felt like I was part of the crowd. And I loved that about this movie. There's like no talking heads. Like you have some interviews like where they're interviewing people, but like one guy's leaning up against the side of his car. The army guy is like being filmed from like below. Like he's like standing there with the sun behind him.
I actually love that whole, that the army is a major sponsor, an early sponsor.
Yeah.
In this,
it's like, hey, these people
field.
that come to see this is the people we want.
Well, yeah, it's interesting because the army identified this is America. And that is our market. And so the army went there and put money into cars and multiple cars.
Yeah, actually, that's my favorite part of the movie is all the army stuff.
That guy. I like that army guy.
Because I love all of the, like, they called them exhibition vehicles. And I loved all the ones that like looked like tanks. And I like loved how
I love those rocket cars.
The rocket cars and the tanks.
Rocket cars were cool.
Yeah. But all the exhibition vehicles were so cool because they're not really there to race. They're just there to show off, like, here's our designs. Here's our logos. Here's what we stand for. Like the hell on wheels and how he talks about the pastor comes up to him and is like, oh, like hell, like in your title. It was just really fun. I feel like I'm in a time capsule. It's just like how Slith is. Yeah. Like, it's like a time capsule of that period. Like, this is a time capsule of that weekend. Now, the weird part of the movie is what I call the woman part. Because they talk about the female driver and they're like, yeah, whatever. Like, who cares about her?
The mongoose is
wait a minute. That's not the movie saying that.
No,
that's the mongoose.
It's the
mongoose. Don't blame that on the brothers.
Okay, I'm not, well, for sure not. But they follow that up immediately with the boob part. Where they zoom in specifically on that woman wearing that striped shirt with her giant breasts, with like the Paul Williams brass music playing behind.
It's like a good choice.
It was bizarre.
Yeah, it was like Muppet Show music.
No,
I even said that while watching it.
You did say that.
I was like, this is like the Muppet Show. The boobs are the Muppets, and the boobs are the Muppets.
I am not arguing that it's bizarre. All right. I still hold that every one of those women had a tremendous amount of character.
No, I think, to be honest, that was one of my favorite parts when I'm talking about it as a time capsule, seeing all these like natural women.
Yeah.
Just like themselves, like
in their titty shirts,
braless. And like you have big boobs, small boobs.
Braless,
You have girls in tank tops. You have girls posing. You have girls like a little shy to be there.
This is part of the anthropology of the Fremont Speedway.
It's also part of the women's liberation, if we're being honest, that the women are actually out there on the Speedway.
But no,
braless.
Braless.
That's well said. And I would say, and I would say, if you're talking about empowerment, there's nobody in the movie except for Dawn Perdue. There is nobody in the movie is empowered as Pam.
She is in charge.
She's in charge.
For sure.
That's Pam's Raceway, and everybody else is just fucking invited. Everybody else is a guest.
So the crash sequence is like bizarre to me because it has like this crazy music that kind of reminds me of Sorcerer.
It was like a horror movie.
Exactly.
The music in this is amazing.
No, the first thing after the little opening, whatever. When they're just getting the long dragsters up on, and they're playing that weird, eerie music. I go, wow, that's really well done.
Like freaking Goblin or something.
It does feel like Goblin. Yeah.
It's great. It's great.
Goblin more than Tangerine Dream. More like Goblin.
I forgot to mention, because it sends a chill down your spine.
Yeah.
It's like, like this weird sounds that they're doing.
Almost like yowling or howling or something.
It's so intense, actually. And you're watching somebody like, for anyone who's for anyone who's been in an accident, like this is a person going through an accident times 10, times 20. The thing is spinning around and rolling. Yeah, you can. Like it's impossible to imagine going through that.
What's wild in the crash sequences is not just when they crash or flame out, but when the car goes out of control and then wipes out the other car.
Yeah.
And then
which is into the audience.
Yeah. And then it's just fucking mayhem. All right. Yeah. And they just see plastic and fiberglass just flying everywhere.
Yeah.
And if you hadn't told me like this movie was like about cars, because I was thinking about it, when you just like see like the flat wasteland that is around them, like Fremont. Of the track, Fremont, and you see the guys in those like metal, like the silver suits.
Yeah, that guy's great.
And you hear the racetrack and it's like jet engines. It almost feels like I'm going to space.
Yeah.
Like I don't know how to describe it besides like I feel like they're walking on the moon. And I'm really interested in guys and girls that do solo sports, like swimmers, surfers, pilots, and drivers also, because they're doing the sport where you have to be all by yourself in like these little compartments.
Yeah.
And honestly, this feels like you're going to the moon. Like they are in these jet engines that are going to catapult them.
No, they seem like rockets more than they seem like cars.
Yeah.
Much more so than a normal racing car.
And some of them are. Some of them were rockets with...
Now, Roger mentioned Bill Kimberlin. He has a website you guys can go to, which is AmericanNitro.com, if you want to hear more about the movie. And he has like a little bit of a blog post about like how he like made the movie and like his other film before American Nitro, which I couldn't find online anything about it.
Oh, his made out of stills.
Yeah.
He did a movie, I think it's a boxing film.
It's about a boxing match. I think that happened in the 30s.
And he had stills. And he was like, well, how do I make this into a movie? And he figured, like, I'll do a movie with stills. And so the
like
whole...
La Jetée?
Yeah, like La Jetée.
He has this one line that he says, and he says, I got my shot, and by 1982, I was working for George Lucas on the biggest movies in the world. If I have any regrets, it is that I did not stay in directing, trying to perfect my skills. And I totally agree with Roger. I wish he had made more movies.
Me too.
I wish he had made more documentaries because I feel like all these influences, like I felt influences, honestly, from Sorcerer. I feel a little bit of influence from The Great Waldo Pepper when I watch it. I feel like all these different, like,
for sure, Great Waldo Pepper.
Classic movies.
Which we haven't talked about yet, but will eventually.
We will eventually, but we just saw that recently, actually, and I hadn't made that connection, but that connection is very well made.
Like
I don't want to talk too much about Great Waldo Pepper right now, but the reason people go to these spectacles is to see the horror.
Yeah.
To see the crash.
And what they don't want to see is the horror.
Yeah.
And so there's this kind of attraction and repulsion going on that makes for America.
Yeah. And so, as Roger said, and we all kind of talked about earlier, Bill Kimberlin went on to work in visual effects. And Roger mentioned that he did Star Wars Episode 6, Return of the Jedi, but here's some other titles.
Revenge of the Jedi.
Okay, Revenge of the Jedi. The original title.
Okay.
And enough of that Episode 6 shit. You mean the third one of the trilogy?
Yeah, the third one, yeah.
Look, I'm a Trekkie, so I'm not the one to ask about Star Wars.
The third one of the trilogy, not this made-up bullshit.
I'm not the one to ask about Star Wars titles.
Yeah.
But here's some other movies that he's worked on, because these are all movies that all of us have seen.
As a visual effects editor.
As a visual effects editor. He did Star Trek 3, Search for Spock, Gangs of New York, Mars Attacks, Saving Private Ryan, Jumanji, The Mask, Starman, the Back to the Future trilogy, Who Framed Roger Rabbit. He did Eddie Murphy's The Golden Child, which is like a really weird one.
Sure. You like that.
I like Eddie Murphy. I don't really like that movie, though. But he's done a lot of stuff, and like we have a lot to thank for him.
He's the best at what he does. I mean, he's the guy you go to.
One of the things that's interesting about this show that I'm discovering from time to time is just when you look up some of these credits and like, oh, wow, I could have been directing this movie or something like that. And my production manager was the guy who back in the 70s did this fucking crazy monster movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Steven Trachtler Award.
Yeah. He gets the Steven Trachtler
Award. He
Award.
absolutely gets the Steven Trachtler Award.
Okay, if you're not as lucky to get a Paragon VHS tape for $75 like I was, you can actually buy the DVD for American Nitro by going to AmericanNitro.com. It is $19.95 plus shipping and handling. You can even order it old school by mail, by like actually mailing them a check, which I thought was kind of cool because not everyone does that anymore.
And that money's going directly to Bill.
Yeah, and it's going directly to the director.
Yeah.
The official DVD,
support Bill. Seriously.
The official DVD is actually using the original negative from their archives. Do not buy a DVD that is not from AmericanNitro.com because there are bootleg DVDs out there. So make sure you get it from their website. If you cannot buy the DVD, this is available on Vimeo to rent for $8 directly from Bill.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
So you can support him digitally and rent this movie.
Way to go, Bill. Way to go, Bill, man.
Yeah, this is one of the rare instances where there's a place to go to where you're paying your money and it's going directly in the pocket to the person who made it.
Yeah,
and actually, it's so rare that it's the first time it's shown up.
Yeah.
All right, on the show.
This is an individual.
This is an individual
who's living or dying by whether you pirate this or not.
So don't pirate it.
Oh, I don't think he's living or dying. I think that's a little hyperbole.
Metaphorically.
Hyperbole is the theme of the episode.
In the middle of the time while he's doing Willow.
He did not do Willow, by the way.
He might have.
No, he didn't.
Okay. He should have.
Yeah.
He's doing The Last Starfighter.
Again, though, that is AmericanNitro.com.
They're coming in, California's top funny car driver.